Within this section, we're going to be practicing using and interacting with elements within the DOM. So let's set up some elements. I'm going to give them all a class of copy me, and then we're going to select these elements using the class. So they can contain various words. They can also contain HTML. So we just have a variety of several different elements, and I'm going to put some random content in there. So now that we've got some elements to work with, let's select these elements using our JavaScript. So going into where we've got our script tags. So going in where we've got our script tags, we're going to select these elements. So we're going to call them REP, as we're going to be replicating these elements. We're going to be making copies of them using JavaScript. So using query selector all, we're going to select all the elements with a class of copy me, and we're going to put them within our node list. So when we console log out REP, you can see that I've selected all of those elements in a node list. And we also have a length for the node list as well. We can loop through them and attach event listeners to them. So selecting all of those elements, so now that we've got it within an object called REP, we can use for each to loop through them, and just as we do with an array, we can loop through them and we can render out a function. So we can get an element, we can get the index value of each one of these elements as we iterate through it. And if we want, we can console log that information out. So that's the element that we've selected. We can also log out its index value. So you can see that we get all of those elements plus an index value, and then we can make use of that index value as well. So you don't have to do a for loop where you've setting in a loop. You can loop it within the for each and get a value, an index value. If we want to attach an event listener to them, so now that we've got these elements as objects, we can add event listeners to them. So adding in the event listener, selecting a click event, we're just going to do a function directly, anonymous function directly within the element add event listener. So now we can make them all clickable, and we can also pass over that index value. So we still have that index value from over here outside of the scope. It's in the parent scope, so we can always access those variables and those values. So now when I click these, you can see that we can output those index values, and we can make use of them within event listener as well. And set up a bunch of elements, give them all the same class, and then using query selector, select them all, loop through them all, and add an event listener to each and every one of them. And when you click them, output the index value of that element. So go ahead and add that into your project. And coming up next, I'm going to show you how we can clone these elements.